when I got really good at ceramics and started to see volleyball, and started to play volleyball, is like these things really brought me joy, and I could feel it and I couldn't deny it, and so I went with it. So it's really important that you like tap into your intuition, because even though there might be pain in doing that, it lands you later in your life in a place of assurance of who you are. Well, all those other people that teased you and just followed something and tried to hurt you now are the ones kind of hurting because they don't know who they are, and they just spent their whole life teasing and hurting other
Following
people.
the herd. Yeah. Okay, we're just gonna get into it, dude. Okay, tallest podcast on earth. We're back. I could not be more excited than to have my best friend, the most beautiful man who's ever touched a volleyball, let alone probably anything in life, dude. Everything you touch turns to beauty. Okay, and in preparation for this, I decided to put this pinky ring on. It's just like some classic silver sterling. You can't really see it, but I put this little silver chain on in your honor, and I put this beanie on, and you matched me with it. Ben, I'm so fucking happy to have you on here.
Thank you. No, I'm really happy to be here. To be honest, I think it's my real first podcast, and it's an honor to do it with my best friend. And
It's your coming out party
it's
post volleyball.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This is, actually, last night I went to the opening gala of my past volleyball team here in Berlin.
Huge surprise. Ben goes to a gala.
I go to a gala. I can't even spell gala. Gala. And I was like, it was my first time being around the volleyball world again, and it felt so nice. So I'm kind of happy to carry on that energy and talk about post volleyball life, since it's kind of on the brain and heart at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, and again, look, I don't really do I should probably do more preparation for guests. I don't normally do like anything because I'm trying to keep it chill over here, baby. And it's so weird exactly. And it was so weird to even think about, like, took the last like 20 minutes and was like, all right, what are some things that people want to know? And I just am like, it's so hard when it's like, we talk all the time. You're my best friend, dude. I love you so much. This is why I'm so excited to have this. This is why it was like so hard to come up with questions that like we talk about, because we talk about each other's personal lives. We love each other, and that's what friends do. But I mean, yeah, it's the first thing I want to know from you that probably most people want to know is like, Ben's not playing volleyball. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. I think naturally people are probably, curious, do I miss it? I think that's like their big question. And I got that asked a lot. In fact, that's the first thing that people ask, like, hey, how are you? Do you miss volleyball? I'm like, you can ask how, what I'm up to or what my dating life is like. No, but I do really miss it. And yeah, I think that, we can really go in many directions with this topic, but
okay, wait, Ben, can I just want to interrupt for a second. Here's what I want to say.
Yeah.
Is I do, just to have some chronological storytelling going on here. First, I just want to talk about kind of what led up to it. And I know this is a lot. It wasn't one day. And then, and understanding like, yeah, where you're at now. I just really, and even myself, like I would really love to know, like, yeah, like what ultimately led up to the decision of just deciding to take a break.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of layers there. I think, some different aspects of that were moving to Berlin as I don't know, counterintuitive, as in a volleyball sense as that was going to be for me. In a way, like it really brought me closer to volleyball, but also really brought me closer to myself, which like has led to me discovering I want to do a lot of other things in my life. So coming here for the job kind of took me away from it in a sense, but it did a lot of other things. And then I think there was just, this concept of, I kind of did the things I wanted to do, and the things I wanted to do didn't become possible. So I was like, I stopped dreaming in volleyball. And for me, that was the biggest sign of it's time, because I'm someone that is so full of curiosity and wanting to test myself of really what I can experience and how much I can experience, because I've really gotten away from this one dimensional way of thinking of life, is like you get a career and you stay in that until retirement. I mean, for me, that's it's not really relevant at all. And so I, I I didn't get to go to the Olympics. That was a big factor. That was unfortunate for me. And so that was a big kind of dream of volleyball. I did play in Champions League. I played for one of the best teams in Germany. I made it professional, which was like a crazy dream I never thought would even be possible. And so I did the things I wanted to do, and the things I didn't get to do didn't really seem like a dream anymore. And that was when it just became, a job. And for me, I don't ever want to be in something because it's just a job, and
Mm.
I want to be inspired. So that started happening, I think, like really heavily after last summer, after the Tokyo Olympics and not being there. I
Wait, really, really quick. I know that was like really tough. In fact, I was with you moments after we were told that we weren't going to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Like, what was that moment? What was that moment like for you? Did it just like put the stamp on it of like, all right, maybe this is my time to be done then? Because like I just know that was something that you were looking forward to. Previous summers you were kind of geared up to be positioned in that way, and then to hear that, what was that like for you?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because
It's a
I've never
loaded
really
question.
yeah, let's unload it. Um I don't know. I've never really talked about this publicly. And maybe, you talk about things out loud and it just becomes, you realize some stuff. But I think, like, I'm sure, like, you were very disappointed and not really understanding that decision. There's things that happen in careers professionally that are just with outside, obviously, the control of the athlete. And I felt really good in my position of going and have, whatever. So it became kind of this, how do I want to say, what's this word, uh like I just got really, not anti-sport, anti-volleyball, but really kind of pessimistic around the whole thing. And like, yeah, just didn't really have the best energy around volleyball anymore. Like, I just felt kind of betrayed. And something about my personality is, when I feel hurt or betrayed or let down, it's really hard for me to like stay in that environment. And so
Mm.
being in volleyball, it just felt like, even after that decision was made and we got told I just felt really betrayed by people that I had trusted and opened up to. And so going back to volleyball just felt like this confrontation of that feeling constantly. And that wasn't also really really nice either. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean this, the first thing I think about is like, you know, people talk about the national team and it's like, oh man, what an honor to be on the national team. And then you
Yeah.
join the national team and rather you also play for a handful of time with the national team. And what I'm really trying to get at here, and it's look, I speaking about the national team as two national team players is always a like tiptoey subject. And
For sure.
what I think I kind of want to like pivot a little towards is like your feelings towards like team environment and sports culture, and just like some of the things that maybe started pushing you towards this route of like, oh, this is feeling like a job. I'm kind of losing my sense of, and I know you and I have talked about this personally, and I feel very similarly. um, it's hard sometimes, like with the national team. Like, thank God I found you, dude. Like, thank God we found each other in like 2015 or whatever, because you don't always get to be with teammates, and it's the same professionally overseas that you just feel like you really connect with. Now,
Yeah.
granted, I think where we're lucky is, in my experience, volleyball players are just good people. I think like like most
Generally,
people,
yeah.
and generally just
Yeah.
like good people. And so there's that. But to really connect with someone, you were the first player that I ever just felt like, oh man, it just like instantly feels like we understand each other existentially and emotionally, and we're the same but we're different. And like, so what's that like when you're on a team and maybe you feel like, you know, I hate to say you don't fit in, because if there's one thing we know about you, you're just like very good at molding into your environment. And at the same time, it's like, but how do you really feel, you know?
For sure. And that's something that I definitely have had to deal with over the years, as I know you personally have too, is as people that can kind of choose one of their personality traits to kind of be available in those in different settings. It doesn't always come across as honest to yourself because it's not where you would ideally like to be or choose to be around. And I think, for the most part, I enjoyed the players, from the national team. You honestly get annoyed, and there's things that happen. That's for sure.
Okay, wait.
Um,
I just want to slide in really quick. What's your ideal like situation of teammates? Like, what does that look like?
well, I mean, that's what I was kind of getting at, because it's, you can enjoy being around people, but that doesn't mean people are your friends. And I think there is kind of this underlining connotation around teams and sports teams that, like, for them to be successful, they have to be like this crazy synergetic thing where everyone gets along, everyone likes each other, da da da, outside the court too, and that's why you do all this team building stuff. And realistically, you're in an environment to compete, and you just need to win. And so I think realistically for me, it didn't become about me trying to like be friends with everyone, and that wasn't my ideal playing situation. As long as it was like, or in my head, as long as we got on together and there was like a nice atmosphere to exist in, it
So
didn't really
British.
matter what. So what did you say?
So British. We got on.
I So as long as we like got on, then then I guess that was like the most important thing.
But like,
Whilst on
why
the
not? Like,
court,
why was not everyone your best friend? Like, why did you not connect well with everyone?
I mean, it's just, we're all coming with like different baggage, different places of backgrounds, and it's like, you know what, like, I like you guys, but like I don't need to be your friend. Like, outside the volleyball court, like, we have different interests, and that's just okay. In fact, it's kind of nice to like have another world outside of sports, and to be able to go into a world of sport where you do have people that like that part of you. Like, I couldn't. You're probably one of my very few friends that like I can be with in on the court in sports and spend as much time as possible or as I would want off the court, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess like even in just in listening to you, I was trying to think in my head like, because I feel obviously, I mean, I feel really similarly that in some way it's like, yeah, I'm friends with all of them, but like most of them I'm not trying to like go hang out with outside of volleyball. So the
Yeah.
question is like, why? And I think, well, here's what I like in guessing for you, let's say, I would think like, well, one thing I know about you is you have so many interests, you know?
Mm.
And you're someone to me, and I was gonna get to this later, but I'm just feeling it right now, so I'm gonna say it. Like, dude, you're someone to me that to this day is like my inspiration for ability to like get shit done and to do other things and also still do his job and still play. And it blows my mind because like, you know, even in trying to start this podcast and trying to build this middle blocker academy online and like trying to do other things, learning the piano, I got a piano over here, I'm a little bit piano now, like trying to do all these other things I'm interested in. I'm always like making excuses like I don't have time for this, like how, like I feel like I'm lost for time, and then I like kind of analyze my day and I'm like, probably did have time if I was more disciplined. But what I think is why you're my inspiration specifically is like, it's not like you wake up at 4:30 and you do a fucking cold plunge and then you're like meditating and reading and doing, you do those things, but I mean it's not this like rigorous routine and then you have your hour of work block. It's like you're so good at just naturally like getting shit done. Like where does that come from?
That actually kind of plays into, well, thank you. It kind of plays
Just tee
into
you
the
up.
previous, tee me up, and what is that? Pitch?
It was a marshmallow, but that's fine.
Thank you.
Thought you were gonna catch it in your mouth.
Oh my God, I'm dying for some candy. Anyway, um, um, Yeah, it kind of goes with that last question about, choosing who we fit in with, um and and why I choose not to, try to be friends with everyone is like I really try to be genuine to my emotions and to how I'm feeling. And I think we have become very accustomed to, in this day and age, in this world, of um that everything kind of has a prescription. Every action of ours, every uh uncomfortable emotion has a antidote. Every mental thing has a pill, or has a meditation, I don't know, practice. And I just don't think life is about these rote programs or prescriptions or systems that have to like remain the same all the time. I'm I'm someone that, like, I could, meditate one day and then not meditate for a year, but it's because I genuinely didn't feel that sitting down in that kind of form of meditation was what I needed. Or just because I joined a sports team, I'm supposed to be friends with all of them. It's not real, it's not genuine. In fact, it's very rare. And so, like, everything in my life, like, now I'm just really focused on only trying to impress myself, and really be honest to what I'm doing. So I don't have this crazy schedule where I wake up at 4 a.m. and do all this stuff every day, because that would not be me, and that would be, just I don't know, such a rote fake schedule. Like, there are days where I do wake up super early and I'm working all day and whatever. But, like, for example, today I woke up and I was like, I'm
Bubble
supposed to do
bath.
all yeah, literally. I'm like, I'm supposed to do all these things, and I just have sat in this and these sweatpants all damn day. I made potato and leek soup when I had six, like, things to do for my website. So, I just and you just have to, like, grant yourself this time and this realness, because I think this life gets much more interesting and much calmer when we're just living it more authentic, and less in someone else's perspective.
I mean, and at what point did you? I mean, what you just said like resonates with me a lot, obviously, and I love that. I think about like at what point in your life, maybe like what age or what time in your life did you start to realize, oh, I'm just gonna follow my path, and my path doesn't have these written rules and guidelines. I'm gonna figure those out as I go. Like, at what point did you start feeling that way, and what maybe like pushed you towards that like path rather than like the more traditional way of living?
um that's a great question. I think some of it is definitely self work and just testing things. And I've had, in a non-cheesy way, some pretty spiritual experiences as an adult, and about, I don't know, some practices that really get you in tune with your mind, and with your what you're feeling on the inside. And these are really reflective, but
What
also,
what might
honestly,
that be, Ben?
well, I just don't know how to talk about on here. But actually, I don't
I
I don't
mean,
care.
dude, what are you talking about? Like, I got kicked off the team. I got to kicked off a team for doing mushrooms. Like, I'm familiar with it, you know. And I think
Yeah, yeah,
some of
yeah.
those things, when done as an adult and properly, in like in a way that's meant to be in a spiritual experience, there's no like we live in a different day and age. It's 2022, dude. People know about psychedelics. People know about those types of experiences, and they're not always drug induced. They can be from plenty of different things. Um,
Absolutely. I mean, you're right. I mean, I'm just to be honest, like, I'm a
Dude, I get
psychedelic.
it.
Yeah, I'm a psychedelic person. I mean, obviously, I'm very much for safe, you know, psychedelic experiences. But I have to say, like, my first time, doing mushrooms in nature, you know, y- was, I mean, it changed absolutely everything for me. It was so eye-opening, so I don't know, introspective, and really beautiful. Like, it really taught me something about my life. And that, coupled with just who I am, like, my whole life I've been someone that's not conventional, in the sense of, like, I was it's very strong-willed as a kid. Like if I didn't agree with something or I didn't like something, I was gonna do something different. And so that coupled with like these really self-identifying, psychedelic experiences has kind of led me on this path of just trying, or not trying, but like really being real. Like I really feel like most of my actions now are really honest. Like I just don't really have an alternative motive. And if I ever do, or I ever think about it, like I'm like, am I talking to this person to try to get something from them? Like I try to check myself right then and there. And like, for example, like I'll just tell a story. Like 2 weeks ago, I started my own company, and I had a phone call with this guy who is from Utah, where I grew up as a teenager, and whatever. And at first, he manages a lot of money for a lot of different kind of big business people, and I reached out to him about business stuff, and then we found out that we have a similar background with Mormonism and da 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 da, and being queer and da 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 da. And so I asked him if I could call him and talk to him about the company. And my intention for that call was to like, see hopefully that he likes me and we like each other, and like he would help connect me to people that can invest in my company. And I just remember thinking during the call, like as he's talking about himself, and I was like kind of in an anxious feeling, like, okay, when are we going to get to a business side of things? And then I remember thinking, well, what's the point? Like maybe that's like not what this is for, and maybe this isn't what this connection is about. Like, are you even listening to what this person is saying? And all the things that he's gone through, it's so similar to what you've gone through. Like, you should really listen and feel and connect to like pains and other things that you've gone through, rather than like trying to see if this person can get investors for you. And so it's really important that I just live as genuinely in the moment as I possibly can. And I guess that's, yeah, what's led me to how I interact now in sports and in life in general. That's a long answer.
I mean, that's beautiful, and I think hopefully relatable as well. Like I know I relate to that a lot, and when you were saying that, I was just thinking about like how hard that is to do, especially as like a high performing athlete.
Yeah.
Like, man, if I'm being completely honest, like I'm at a time in my life right now where like I need to be scheduling in meditations for myself. So since I got here, I said just do 10 minutes a day, find time to do it. I try to do it in the morning. Sometimes I don't always do it. And for me personally, like right now, it's actually helped. It's been a nice reminder, because I think it's so easy to go and this is where I catch myself now in my career going, which is more of the pessimistic side, which is, first of all, I'm trying to start all these things. They take a lot of my time. So no, I'm not trying to like come grab a beer or go to dinner after practice with teammates. And like, I'm
Yeah.
fortunate here. I love, we have a really good group of guys, and, but there's still not all of them are guys that I'm like, just gonna go like kill time at the local bar after a training or whatever,
Yeah.
And even now dude, it's so funny. Even today, like, we have this guy who's like in charge of the keys. I don't know, what do you call that? A lock key kid? Wasn't there like what's that called, dude? Someone who's in charge of the keys. There's a word for it. I know there is. Do you
The
remember it?
key master? I have
Yeah,
no
key
idea.
master, a lock key. Dude, I swear there's something called a lock key kid. If someone knows, please send it to me. I want to know. But there's a guy who is the master of the keys, and he gives us the key to the locker room every day and whatever. And like, to me, he's just like, God, every time he sees me, he just like wants to speak English so badly with me. And when I played in this club last year. So when I first played with him, it was like cute, it's like, oh dude, what's up? Like, yeah, I can tell that you can speak English. It's impressive. Like, you want to have conversation. And I'm, kid from California. So it's like, you want to talk to me, like in English, especially. I noticed that some like people who aren't from the States or English isn't their first language, they like get excited to talk about it. I get it.
Mm.
And so when I first was with him, I was like, oh, like always down. I love those, like, my dream is like, a barista I see every day and we just become buddies, like I love that, those small little interactions, they mean a lot. And then being here my second year, he kind of just like it's starting to annoy me that it's like every time we make even slight eye contact or I'm within like a 20-meter zone, that's 60 feet for Americans, a 60-foot zone of like his perimeter, and he can sense me where he's gonna want to have a conversation, and and now I catch myself just avoiding him, like trying so hard to avoid him. And one of the things that I've been trying to work on here is like I'm getting too anxious about the future, trying to like reteach myself, rewire myself. It hasn't always been a problem. It seems very new to me as I've been wanting to take on more things. How can I continue to live moment to moment? And
Yeah,
so part of that is like, okay, maybe I don't have to go get a beer with everyone, but like everyone deserves some level of respect in the sense that like, well, maybe I can engage in a smaller conversation with him, even though it's
yes,
like so easy to want to go down the other road of like, God, every time I see him, it's so fucking annoying. I got to see this guy and talk about some bullshit and then like join in. Yeah, dude, she's hot, or yeah, whatever. Like, it's just the same kind of like, stupid shit. And I just don't want to deal with it. And even now I'm trying to keep myself in check, being like, okay, how about if they show you like something? And I said she is hot because I think when I mentioned sports culture earlier, there's a lot of just like really stereotypical stuff that still exists. That to me, it's just like, oh, the older me would have been like, oh yeah, she's so hot. Or like in team group chats, they'll send like, nasty photos or videos or like stupid shit, like stupid classic locker room jargon that now I'm
yeah,
just not down with. Like that's just not me. So I just
yeah.
like let that shit
Don't
slide. I
engage.
don't say anything. I just don't engage in it, or I don't give them the like courtesy laugh that you do where it's like, oh yeah, that's hilarious. Like I don't do that shit
Yeah,
anymore. Because to your point, it's like I'm trying to stay honest to myself.
and to be honest, they probably don't like it either, and they probably don't have any interest in looking at those things either. They just send it because of this kind of culture that we've built up of how you're supposed to act given the environment that you're in, and this is where like I just cannot function, and because it's just a waste of my time. It's a waste of everyone else's time because we all know that we're not as interested as we're pretending to be. When people like, for example, like here in Berlin, I don't know how it is in Poland or in the US even, people, every time you see each other, you're like, people you haven't seen for a while, and they're not even close friends, be like, how are you? Like, I don't know, like, how you been? And it's just like, do we really all care? Like, like to ask the same questions so much, because it's like after 5 minutes you ask the next person the next question, and I'm like, I can't retain that much information if I'm going into a room of 10
Yeah.
different people and I'm like, getting the same answers. And I don't need to know how you are unless we're like one-on-one and talking. Like it's okay just to say like, what's up, and that's it. Like, hey, you're here, cool, and basta, finito,
And
it's
it's
okay.
not, and sometimes it's to me, it like, okay, it just, first of all, just like to piggyback off that, it just doesn't feel sincere sometimes. It's just like you're
Of course
programmed to say
not.
what's up. So let me spinball this really quick and talk about useless traditions, okay? I'm going to talk about the most useless tradition, number one, out here in Poland that I personally don't like at all, okay? And that is every time you enter a room. So in the morning, we have a weight session. You have to clap and say what, like smack hands with, like they do it traditionally. They all just say, hi, hi, hi,
I
hi, hi.
hate this.
Stop, dude. Stop.
I
Why?
know.
I hate it so much, and I'll tell you why. First of all,
Yes.
side note, a lot of times I'm like trying to put my hair in a bun. And yes, it takes daddy a long time to put his hair in a bun. I got to get all those little side stragglers. It's not super long and easy. It's kind of thin. It's already kind of breaking. Daddy's got a receding hairline. We don't need to get into that part, okay?
Oh, well,
But
there's a reason
what it
to be
takes,
bed.
exactly. But it takes me some time to get it up there. And every time it's like, they'll stand like this. No, no, I got my hair. No, no, I don't do it. I just go like this and I give him an elbow now because daddy's, I'm trained. But I hate it so much because I'm just like, dude, can't you see I'm like in the middle of something? And also, it's just like, it's not even, and to not make myself seem like an asshole, I do engage with everyone. I just do it my way, where it's like, I do it in a way where it's like, you're getting water, I'm getting water. And it's like, what up, dude? Like, you sleep good last night? Like something to engage with them a little bit. But I hate the
Yeah.
just bullshit like, hey, what up, Shema, Chesh, like, what's up, dude, what's up, dude, what's up, dude? And they just literally go in a line. Like if we're all in the locker room, they just go one by one by one by one. It's not a real moment.
Dude, we did that here, like in Berlin, like every morning training, like you go around, you do like this high five, you do whatever, and I'm like, it when things feel like they are forced, that's when we should stop doing them. Or if they feel like they become ritualistic rather than genuine and I don't know, meaningful, then we should stop doing them. It's okay to revisit things, but to be creatures of habit rather than creatures of um I don't know. Um yeah, rather to be creatures of like experience rather than creatures of habit. Like I just think like there's so often that because something worked once, we therefore think it works for every situation, or that's how you have to interact with each other. Because most people are scared to think, and that's why we have so many programs around this whole life experience that place people and give people how would you not a code but like a what an
Dude, it's just
instruction
it's
manual.
so easy to bandwagon onto tradition, especially like when you're
100%.
young. That's what happens is when you're young, you just like go with the crowd, and this is what like they've been doing forever. This is what all the older guys do, so this is what I have to do. And I feel like in some way maybe the world's changing a little bit, and I'm not against all tradition. In some way, I think tradition can be a beautiful thing. Let's take like
Yes.
some holidays. Maybe I don't agree with the reason for the holiday, whatever, but it's a great to create a reason to all get together with hopefully people you love. It's beautiful.
I mean,
But
Thanksgiving is the best.
yeah, Thanksgiving's the best for sure. And so I
When you're
just
not with anyone, just for the food.
Thanksgiving is the best for those leftovers, baby. And I don't know what you do or what you've done in Berlin for Thanksgiving. We do something out here called I do it every year called Friendsgiving. Okay,
Yes,
it's a
I
little.
host it every year.
Do you do
Yeah,
your
we
own
host
kind of
that.
Friendsgiving?
I do. I host it. I've hosted a Friendsgiving every year since I've lived in Berlin.
Oh, do you do it at Bergenheim?
No,
At the
never
Guggenheim?
heard of her. The Guggenheim. No, I do it here. Like I have these really long, like how long are they? Like 30-foot tables, and we set up two of them, and we have like 20 people here, and we just like everyone brings something. It's so cute. I love it so much.
Oh, dude, I
Yeah,
gotta ask you, like, okay, we talked a little before about how sometimes, and granted, it depends on what team you are, but you just feel like you don't connect with everyone. Like, how do you, because here's what I know, and here's what I've learned is through my experience is you end up being shaped by those around you, you
yeah,
know? And it becomes difficult. It can make you feel really isolated when you feel like you don't vibe with everyone, let's say, or maybe you do because like we're just good people. Yeah, we can play the game and like what's up, and like I love those guys. Like it's the same with my teammates now. I love them, but I'm not like maybe one or two that I'm like, oh, I'm actually trying to spend time with. But even those two,
yeah.
it's not. They're not like my diehards. So how do you? If knowing that you are so shaped by your environment, how can someone create their own environment when like maybe their team or their college team or whatever is like isn't allowing for that, or like I don't vibe with everyone, like what am I supposed to do? Because what I've known about you since the day one of meeting you, first of all, you have a million friends. Now not all of them are your best friends, but like you're so good at like reaching out and networking and like just having different avenues. Like for example, I remember like even in ceramics, right? For those of you who don't know, Ben is a ceramics master. We'll get into more of that probably later. But I remember in 2017, we lived together in Newport Beach. Dear God, that feels like years ago.
Oh
Can't
my
believe it happened.
God.
But you were, you had that like little studio you went to in Costa Mesa, and then we met Lauren, or like you had just some like one-off kind of friends there. Like you would go up to LA and see some of those friends there, and like that house in Silver Lake. What's their name? Those two gay dudes who own that house or whatever.
Royce and
Yes,
Greg.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just like you
Yeah.
had friends from other places, and I was just like, man, how can someone start to build that for themselves? And maybe they can't, like
Mm.
maybe they're isolated, right? Maybe you're overseas and you're playing professionally and like but like how do you become a part of the neighborhood?
I mean, I think it's again a lot of it is just my personality, and some people really don't like that. They don't like being everywhere. I think part of it is I'd rather have friends in a lot of different places because I've never felt comfortable in like a clique or group kind of situation.
Mm,
I think like like the team, being part of a volleyball team specifically, was as close as I could get to like a click, but that was like a forced thing. So I didn't want to like go from being in one click to another one. I always have like really loved, ever since I was young, of just kind of having icons in different kind of walks of life that I could go to, even regardless of age. Like when I was young, I would just go hang out with like this kid's mom. I was like 12 and she was, I don't even know, like 50. And I would just sit in her kitchen while she's cooking, and her and I would just hang out. So I think I've always just been someone that just loves like information. And because these people that I'm hanging out with are reflections of myself and some type of interest I have within myself. And I can't get into those interests or into myself if I'm being smothered by a group of people. So I'd much rather have like an icon here or an icon there, that we are reciprocating energy, rather than it's just kind of going into this pot of a group and not kind of coming out. Obviously there is like I have friends here that we're not in a clique, but they're definitely, we all kind of know each other and kind of flow. And when we do get together, it is this very beautiful synergetic thing, a lot of good energy. But during the week, it's not like we're exclusively a friend group or a team per se. But it just keeps things light, it keeps things healthy. I think things get really complicated when you get in like kind of exclusivity or clicky group situations. It just kind of gets bit to one track, and there's not breathing happening. So
And
how I did that, I don't know. I just think it's an intention thing. Is I think the closer that you get to yourself, you learn how much you have to offer, how much they're you're capable of, how much curiosity that you really have. And once you tap into those different curiosities, you also tap into the fact that you can't get that fulfillment all in one place.
hmm, I mean, my brain just went like 1,000 different ways when you were saying that. And because, dude, I completely agree, and it just like in some, not that I think I have like a higher way of thinking or anything at all like that. I don't think that
you
at
you
all.
do you do.
Okay. No, but like it just makes, when I see people like constantly, and I hate to use this example, but like in the locker room, dude, it's so hilarious how right after practice is over, everyone just goes straight to their phone and they're just like
Yeah,
scrolling through Instagram or TikTok,
yeah,
TikTok. And like every time I see that kind of stuff, I'm just like, oh, dude, this hurts. Or like I end up having like surface level conversations with people. I'm just like, it makes me feel for them like, dude, have you even taken the time to like just be with yourself and really listen to that? Because, dude, let me tell you, and I understand maybe for some people that's harder than others, because when you were saying that, I was like, oh, I could imagine some people like they don't even know it, but that's their distraction from really understanding themselves, is by
yeah,
filling that. And we all have that one friend who just like constantly like needs to be hanging out with people, or needs to, and they can't be alone
for
in any
sure.
way.
Yeah,
I feel like in some way it's like it can be distracting from really understanding that. So I know we kind of hit it already, but it's even the thing I'm working on now. It's just like, man, how can you better get in touch with, and what I think is like self is also like that gut, that intuition, and kind of breaking through the barrier of like, well, I should be living this life. I'm supposed to get married. I should have a family. I should want those things. I should be super happy to be playing professional volleyball, because like, this was my dream. And like, but I think that sometimes can be so distracting from the way your gut really feels. And the irony in all this to me is sometimes it's like so hard to listen to your intuition. But then
yeah.
again, but your intuition, to your point, is a feeling. It changes your body temperature. Like it is such a feeling. Like, how do you really start to get like in touch with that? I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna try to answer those different topics. I'll respond to them.
I'm sorry, I'm the
Um,
worst, dude. This is why I got to prepare questions, dude. I'm
no,
sorry.
I love it because I go the same. I go everywhere, but it'll all just come together. I mean, how do you follow your intuition? Well, one thing I did notice is, or as I have reflected back on my past, because after leaving volleyball, you kind of just like look at your whole life and you're like, what the hell did I just do? So for the past 28 years of my existence, and you look at your life, you look at your relationships, because now you have time to, you really have time to like okay, what behaviors have I developed or patterns have I developed socially because I've been so saturated in one field of work. And or like you look at your relationships and how do I see similarities or parallels in my romantic relationships to what I did professionally and not, so you just kind of look at your whole life a little bit. And and looking back and looking at some of my patterns, like intuition wise, like I think it really started to change for me being my background in like such a religion that was so like heavily focused in one way. And I don't want to talk about religion by any means, but I think but I do think um there was moments of like intuition or spirituality, which is not synonymous with religion by any
Fair.
means,
Hmm.
but where I had moments of like, oh my God, that makes sense. And then things where it didn't. And the things that didn't, I really started to follow my gut at a really young age. And things always just worked out. Like, for example, getting to volleyball, or, yeah, no, not volleyball. I'm talking about ceramics. Like, I remember, like, as a really young kid, like 6 years old, I would go into my backyard intuitively, and I needed to like be by myself and touch earth. And I used to like dig up really deep in our backyard and find like what was almost like clay. It was probably just dirt, but like really dense. And naturally, I would do this movement, and I don't even think I ever saw it, but I would just naturally build these bowls out of like clay, and I would go put them by my windowsill as 7 years old and have them cook in the sun. And then
Meanwhile, your
later in
parents are
my
like, "Oh, there's Ben playing with the dog shit again."
they're like in the side, like, should we tell him? And I'm like, I'm making this beautiful mud thing.
I love that though. That's cute as
Yeah,
fuck. I
and
didn't know
so
that about you.
yeah, I really have like looked back, and I even talked to my adoptive family about that, and like how my mom remembers that as well. And it was just really funny because it was like that was like my first kind of intuitive experience. And then, later it came out again, like as a 10-year-old in school, and then it became my savior in a way, like in high school, because I was bullied so bad before I played sports that the ceramics room was like my savior. And I was every day doing pottery after school to avoid people, walking home the same time as me. And I became like almost a professional potter at such a young age.
Wait, wait,
And
wait,
now
wait.
it's,
No, no, no. I'm sorry. I didn't
yeah.
know you got like bullied that bad as a kid.
Oh yeah, like really, really bad. Yeah,
And we don't have to talk about it if you don't feel comfortable talking about it.
we can.
Yeah, I want to know like why the fuck were you bullied? Who's bullying my Benjamin? Who's bullying my sweet boy Benjamin?
Actually, I was bullied pretty bad for a very, very long time. And I think it was when definitely some signs of my personality weren't fitting to what was commonly accepted as masculine, or I was a young kid that liked dance. Like I was a dancer before sports. Like I did hip hop and jazz and ballroom dance from the time I was like 5 years old, and then I did pottery when I was 12, and I liked fashion, and I wore skinny jeans, which everyone and their dog now wears.
Wow, dude. I'm gonna have to uncover a
Yeah.
photo of you wearing skinny jeans for this podcast.
Oh, it's so gross. It's so gross. And I just dress different. I look different. It's so funny because I just see these boys that dress now, and I'm like, I wore that, and not to say I'm cool, but I'm like, I wore that back then, and people like you would have called me gay or said something, but you're dressing like me and you're wearing your pearl necklace, and all of you look gay, but you're straight. so, so just and painting your nails, and I'm just like, it's so funny. It's like the gays or the queers make it cool, and then the straights bully them, and then they're
Hey, and
doing
you
it
know
like
what?
10 years later.
Let's talk about it. Crop tops, dude. Crop tops are
It's
fucking sick. And I'm trying my best, okay? We're coming out with some crop tops. I'm trying my best to make crop
sick.
tops just unisex. Who fucking
Duh.
cares? I think crop tops are so
Men
sick.
look hot in them.
And
They look good.
thank you. I totally agree.
It,
Let's
it's
keep it on
it's
you. That's a
it's
work in progress. I agree.
no. We can also go there. I mean, it's it's just so funny how these things kind of like cycle. For example, the crop top. So yeah, I was really, really, bullied quite heavily for, things that I found interested, but there where I really
How
struggled
did
in
you
life
not
is when I
change? Like, how did that not change
exactly.
you?
Well, it did. There was like, I remember like I would come home every day crying, like so sad. And like I just remember like, crying on my counter and my mom would just be like holding me. People just don't know this about me. Like they think people, people that kind of have a lot of attention in their adult life just kind of arrived here,
Mhm.
like and people, maybe think I'm cool now or popular. And there was a point in my life where like I was like what I don't know, like that the quintessential bully kid that you see in the movies. Like I was not famous in any way or cool or talk like it's just so funny. So, it was like this time of yeah, really doubting everything, but that is where I hurt the most is like things that I loved about me became things that I questioned the most. And it was because I was giving way into the perspective of other people. And where I started to really feel strong is actually, you know, when I got really good at ceramics and started to see volleyball and started to play volleyball, is like these things really brought me joy and I could feel it and I couldn't deny it. And so I went with it. So it's really important that you like tap into your intuition because even though there might be pain in doing that, it lands you later in your life in a place of assurance of who you are. Well, all those other people that teased you and just followed something and tried to hurt you now are the ones kind of hurting because they don't know who they are and they just spent their whole life teasing and hurting other
Following the
people.
herd. Yeah.
Literally,
Wow, I was
literally.
just thinking about what Benjamin would be like if he decided never to be in touch with his intuition like that and just had decided to go with the rest of them, dude.
Sorry, I just had to grab
It's
my
ama-
charger.
yeah, don't let it
Um,
die on me, baby. I thought maybe you're gonna go to pee, and I was like, I love that. Don't even mention it. Just go do it.
I would.
Yeah, if you have to.
I
It's
I also made some soup. Maybe I'll eat some soup with you.
soup. What'd you say you
Um,
made?
soup.
Yeah, but you made what? You said leek and potato.
Leek and potato soup, and then I grilled a baguette in the oven with a drizzle of olive oil. Oh my god!
Oh, dude, that croissant you had the other day. Well, it wasn't a croissant,
Ah,
but dear lord, that thing was the size of like 6 Tempur-Pedic pillows.
shut up.
That was wild. That was a straight
Yes,
up small sofa
and I
of
ate
bread.
every last
I
bit of
believe
it.
it.
It was so
You put
good.
a little bit of that olive oil, some like nice creamy balsamic, a little bit of salt in the middle.
You
You know,
know, I
where
know, I know,
I just hear Benjamin running to the front door.
I know.
No, dude,
I mean,
I think that's really go ahead. You said you look like you're gonna
well,
say something.
I was just gonna say, like, you asked, you can't imagine me, not following those things, and I can't imagine me not doing it either. But I was just gonna say it is refreshing to see this younger generation that it's taking shape in this more dynamic way. That these young kids, like, it's just so interesting to me. Like I just see these young, for example, volleyball players, and they're like Instagram models, and they're like wearing cool clothes that I'm like, wow, you're 18 and you look like we could be best friends. Or like, or you dress way cooler than I ever could and it's just so interesting to like really see this shift in who I was as a young person. I'm not saying everyone's trying to be like me, but it's like it is this attitude of like expressing yourself, and it's really nice to see these young kids and athletes and men right now specifically tapping into this unwiring of masculinity, of who they think they have to be, and so that we can really progress, that athletes can be more than one thing, that men can be more than one understanding of what a man is. So it's just really nice to see these young kids do it, even though they're annoying. It's nice to see it.
Dude, I mean, I don't actually pay that much attention to what the younger kids are wearing. I don't see it. I
Yeah.
don't see it as much, dude, honestly. But
Are you
I take
serious?
no, I take
These
that
like
back. I take that back. I take that back. Well, I had Mason Briggs, for example. He's at Long Beach Libero.
oh
He was my
yes, how old is
roommate.
he?
I was not
Is he like
super
12?
impressed.
Is he
No, he's
18?
no, he's 20 maybe. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
20, maybe turning 21.
Yeah.
Wasn't super. He's gonna hate it. I said this. I wasn't super impressed by his dress, but I will say I do hear. I do. I definitely feel like I see more men have their nails painted, and well, it's hard to judge fashion out here because well, let's talk about the two different types of fashion. The first thing I think about out here is like washed jeans with massive rips and holes in them, and like
Okay.
a tight shirt, maybe a bit bedazzled, and like a very slick back kind of hairdo.
Are you talking about on your sports team or in
When
the
I think
city?
about you, well, let's just say when I think about like Polish or really European style, like day to day style stuff. Okay,
Okay.
this is coming from me, so who fucking cares really? But and then the summer thing I think about is, dude, like when we went to Italy for before World Champs this
Oh
last
God.
summer, the jorts, dude, those jean shorts. I want to say I was in awe, but it was actually exactly where I thought it would be. It showed up
We will
exactly at the
not
right
be
times.
friends. I cannot be friends with someone that wears a jean short.
Wow, dude, can we talk, since we're going there, dude, can we talk about joggers? You remember when Daddy was wearing your joggers? Okay, just to set the scene really quick, you guys, I will say Ben was my first friend who ever introduced me to, like, let's say fashion, you know?
Let's
Like
say
to
fashion.
being, well, you know, to being fashionable, because I just don't even want to say that, like, you know, I took it seriously, because I did not. The only times I took it seriously is after I would always wear your clothes. I would literally, anytime we went out in LA or it's like some dinner to do something in like 2016, 17, 18, it was always like a huge deal for me to wear Ben's clothes. And it was a joke because every time I'd go out in your clothes, I would get compliments on like, oh, I love that shirt. And Ben's like, yeah, it's my fucking shirt, bitch. You
I
know?
know.
But specifically, I'll never forget that, for some reason you had those, what was it, Top Man, like joggers. I know this is like
Yes.
a long time ago. Ben does not
Xanarobe.
wear joggers
Xanarobe.
anymore. Xanarobe.
No, no, Xanarobe. Xanarobe
Neither
joggers.
does Daddy. Neither does Daddy. But
Yeah, we've progressed.
I
It's
remember it was
crazy, and
like, dude,
people still wear them.
people
I'm
still
just
wear them.
like, I seriously, I wore those back in 2000, like when I graduated high school, 11, and I'm like, I was bullied. Like everyone were like, "What the fuck? You're so gay. Why are you wearing joggers?" And I'm like, "You guys don't get it. You guys don't get it." And now what?
And
Joggers
dudes, I want to say the summer of
still.
2017, it was my favorite pair of pants of yours. Okay, because it did get to a point where I basically
They're comfy.
just wore your clothing. They are really comfy. I get it. And then I remember ripping them in the club one time.
More than
And
once.
you got, yeah, it's true. You got me a brand new pair, I believe. You got
And
me
you
a
ripped
brand
them
new pair,
again.
and I ripped them again, dude. And that, if life could not be giving me more of a sign to just exit the
and
life
the
of
and the
joggers,
jogger and the
um, that was
jogging.
it. That was it. And well,
Yeah, that's funny.
speaking of fashion, I think it's definitely now worth talking about. You're starting a fashion line, Benjamin,
I am. Yeah, I mean,
because
there's kind of
you're trying to pave the way for fashion, for the world, because clearly we need help, dude. Okay.
we need help. You know, the thing is like, fa- I fashion and style are not synonyms for me, and I think fashion. I like fashion. There's some fashion I don't like, but I like style. I really love personal
What's the
style.
difference?
Um, well, I mean, it's kind
By
of
the way, I
what
already know
sub
the answer. I did this for you guys. So
yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's I think it's kind of subjective. Like I don't know, like personal style for me is just someone that like I feel when I look at them is a real representation of them and their mood or just them in general. It could even be sweatpants and how just sometimes somehow someone wears sweatpants is just like that is such their style. Like that's just like them in the moment.
mm.
And I really like that. People that just like buy brands like like just without with any sense. Like I'm not saying you can't wear brands like a Balenciaga or a Gucci or a Fendi or Ferragamo or some for something, or Tom Brown. You know, it's like just to like deck yourself out and head to toe in these things doesn't make you stylish. It's just you're wearing fashion brands, and that's just annoying. Like if you pick pieces and things and whatever, you could pick a shirt on the street and how you wear it. That is style, and
Baby,
that is impressive.
let's talk about it then. Okay. how can someone develop style? And here's what I want to say as I put this giant hand in your face. Here's what I want to say, okay? I was someone who, before meeting you, was just like, I'll just wear basically whatever's closest to me when I get up. You know,
Yeah.
like I just didn't give a shit. Now, granted, I don't think I had like a horrendous style. I mean, you go
No,
through
that was your
phases, right?
style. Was a style. It was a
My style
style.
was whatever has a little bit of dust on it and is on the
Yeah.
ground. Okay. But no, I didn't have like, yeah, I was wore like, Lululemon shirt. I had tight pants for sure. I had Mango, dude. When I lived in Italy, they wore just like tight fitting pants. I thought that was the thing. I never had bad style for sure. But I never had style at all until meeting you. And then, originally I had this like fight. This is my now journey, expressing my journey of having some sort of style. I had this like battle between like, why would I ever like feel the need to dress to like look a certain way? Like, what do I fucking care? It's clothes. I don't give a shit, But to your point that you made kind of about like setting the mood, as I started dipping in with you as a friend who was into it, I was like, all right, fucking daddy, dress me up tonight. Like, I'm down. Like, let
Yeah.
me, oh my God, the onesie, dude, the onesie. Oh my God. Okay. But I just remember like starting to be like, oh, dude, actually like, it makes me feel a type of way, and maybe that's actually
For
like
sure.
changing my headspace in a good way for me, and like, I remember teachers that used to say like, oh, wear a business suit or wear a collared shirt and you'll be smarter or whatever, and like obviously that's not the case, but there is something about like it's kind of cool to dress in a certain way that gives yourself oh my God. For those of you just listening, I'm so sorry, there is a terrible photo of
Oh my
me
God. I don't know
and
if people can see it. I'm
don't
sorry.
fucking go down the path of pulling out old photos of each other, okay? That's pretty embarrassing. But
Anyway,
then
speaking of
again,
personal style.
honestly I think I could wear that now and still make it work for me.
I wish you could see. So everyone, if I wish you could see this, because I cornrowed Taylor's hair, and this is how you know he has style. And his hair,
Crumping, baby. I love a good crump.
loves a good crop, and we left it in all day, and so we took it out. He has like this huge mane of like crimped hair, and we were going to a nice restaurant for dinner. And we're like, you cannot go in like this. So you just poured like a water bottle into your hair, and oh my God, I just wish you could see. It's
Dude,
so good.
that was one of my favorite things because I have like really straight, kind of wavy, but like thin hair, and I loved when
Yes,
you would like braid my hair and then I'd sleep in it, and then the next morning, is it
crimped,
crimp?
yeah, or crumb.
Yeah, I used to love because then Daddy had some fluff, that thick volume that I've been always looking for, dude. I
You
loved
had,
it. I was
oh
obsessed with
my
it. It
God.
was cute, right?
Yes, you didn't maybe have like a refined style, but you just had your style. Like you just were you. You were wearing sweatpants, and I think I had a different perspective back then, and I wanted, my friend to like look like me and dress like me. But in reality, I'm just happy that you were yourself, and that's why I loved you. And
I was, dude. And
yeah,
I was so happy to have you as a friend to introduce style in a way that wasn't like, because obviously I was never going to buy like, I don't even call it just like expensive brands just because that's just definitely not me. But even like
yeah,
trying to figure out what style was. And now, I have a girlfriend who also has like very good taste,
super
mildly
good taste.
like similar to you, like just had good taste, good neutral tones, good earthy tones. I like collared shirts, baby. I'm wearing a collared shirt right now. I
I
love it. I
saw.
love the way it makes me feel, baby. I love having
Oh my
style. I
God,
really do.
cute.
I really
Yes.
do. But like, it made me think like, oh, imagine if like, what can people gain? Like, how did you even get into like caring about fashion or style? Because I think for people who don't know or maybe aren't into it, and I want to be clear, we've defined already what we are talking about when we mean fashion or style.
Yeah.
But for people like, how do you even begin to like where can someone go to even begin to like understand like good style? And of course it's subjective, but like also kind of not, it's almost like your gut, like we talked about earlier. It's almost just like intuition of like, oh yeah, that just seems fitting.
Yeah. I mean, I just, like I see
Be
us
that
sometimes
friend
on.
for everyone right now, Ben, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm gonna
Okay.
I'm gonna try my best.
Lay it down,
I mean,
baby.
I see these kids like on Instagram or social media, and they're like do like these weird like or I don't have TikTok, but you see sometimes like these weird like videos when they're like walking. Yeah, yeah,
What?
exactly that. Everyone always looks sad. They're always like, I'm like you're gonna look back at this picture in like 30 years and be like, was I ever happy? Like all my pictures of me when I was young, I'm just like, with a smile. Anyway, that being said, I'm gonna go post that same selfie of that in like 20 minutes. Um, no, I just see like these weird like slow-mo videos of like these fashion bloggers, and it's like they'll be walking, also it's like slow, and they're like turning towards the camera and they keep walking, and that's like their post. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And you just see like the clothes that they're wearing, and they're just decked out from top to bottom in like these weird big shoes and like just over the top. And I'm like, this isn't stylish. You know, fashion brands exist because you take pieces and you reinvent them and you combine them with things or things you found in a different place where you've been, and you put that together, and that becomes style. That's why fashion brands exist. It's not because you wear only Prada and that makes you stylish or that makes you interesting. That doesn't make you interesting at all.
So let me
So
ask you then. So where do you go to get inspired? You know, like who inspires you to think about that way?
everyone, I mean, everywhere I go, there's definitely people around me that have a very specific style. And when I was younger, I was very interested in fashion, creating fashion. And I in church when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old, I remember during the whatever the service, I would be drawing on like the back of the pamphlet or whatever it's called. I would be drawing like women's clothing, like dresses and jeans and different outfits at 10 years old. Like I just also wanted to do that when I was really, really young. And I had a full collection of like Barbie dolls and this kind of shit. Every clothing they could ever create on a doll I had for the Barbies, because it wasn't like I liked being with Barbies so much or like these things, is because like I loved creating style on these characters, and then to translate, like I would cut their hair, like I just loved creating a world around even a doll, and translated later into like my best friend, like just like helping them create their style and their image is something I love doing. And so it's like now as an adult, I do now post volleyball is I create world style under my own fashion brand, because that's just kind of what I've loved doing my whole life. And so if I could, guide someone, and that's what I'm hoping to do now, of how to get your own personal style. I think it's to stop trying so hard. I think it's really to look for pieces and in different places that you connect with, and not care so much about the brand. I think it's important, if I'm going to just make a plug for sustainable living, it's important to know how and where these things are made. I don't support fast fashion. I don't support like H&M or these kind of places. I understand that not everyone can afford to, walk into a Gucci store and buy something. I can't afford to do that, but I think it's important, also to recycle clothing, go into vintage shops. You can, go test boundaries, and don't limit yourself to one kind of look. Represent yourself how you want to daily, and yeah, I think then you'll slowly develop style rather than just representing a fashion brand. Not interesting.
Okay. And first of all, I think hopefully a lot of people vibe with what you're saying there, and I think that's really
I hope so.
powerful. You know, yeah, it's true, dude. Style's a powerful thing, baby, and no one's talking about that. You know, and
Style's a
uh,
powerful thing.
and I do feel like you had said like, oh, the kids have better style now. I also do feel like people are shopping secondhand more than maybe they used to.
Yeah,
What's like the big,
because
as someone who's just like a
but
fashion
that's
fucking
also a
dummy,
trend. That's also a trend.
for
It's like
sure.
to like this, and so it's like it's so funny. It's just like these things become just so, what's the word, um like repetitive
I mean, that's probably
and
the definition of a trend, right? I mean, that's basically what a
yeah,
trend is. Yeah.
yes, but it's like I'm not saying, like just because you go to a vintage shop now you look like, there's people that have that look that's like all their clothes are secondhand. And I'm not saying that's what you have to do, but there is a way to kind of combine all your different looks and feelings and interests, and you don't have to subscribe to one way. You don't you just know it's like when you see like a goth person or a jazz player or like someone from Latin
Hey,
America,
wait, what does a jazz player look like?
a jazz player, I don't
You mean
know,
the
like
Utah? You mean talking about the Utah
the
Jazz?
Utah Jazz, just like the
I
jazz,
can't
like
remember the last time I saw someone walking down the street and I was like, that guy must be a fucking jazz player, dude.
absolutely. I don't know where you're living. You need to walk down the streets.
I'm in
No, but you know
Poland.
what I
No one plays
mean.
the jazz. The jazz. Oh my god, feel drunk.
Though, like the soccer
Yeah,
player,
of
it's
course.
just like
Yeah, for
all
sure.
these different fields and different things come with like a prescribed uniform, you know? And oh my God, and these TikTok boys that are like on Instagram, they're doing like I just can we just talk about the and I'm like, what is that? Like what? And they're all doing
Wow. Can I
this.
be honest? That felt real rehearsed, Ben. You rehearsed that.
I'm like, what is that? you know?
No, for sure. Are you kidding me? Like, of
I
course.
I'm just like, where are the people that just want to be like original? Where are the people that just want to like actually create and stop following?
Can I
Like
can I say yeah, for sure, dude. And you said you don't want to talk about religion.
Sure,
Which I
let's
get.
talk about it.
But I mean, dude, I get it. Like I was raised Christian. Both parents work in the church, and I'm not attached to any religion. But I was thinking about this the other day, like just how I like so much the idea of it in the sense of like how nice that like you have these guidelines to live by and you have these like rules that you need to follow and you have this like you have your community. It's just there for you. Anywhere you go in the world, you're for the most part, you're gonna find like someone in your community. Like how cool. And I think it's not my way of living. It's not the path I want to go down, but that comes with its own struggles. And sometimes I'm like envious. Sometimes I'm like, why couldn't I just be like convinced by like Christianity or a different religion?
For
And
sure,
I
yes.
think the part that I have the hardest time with sometimes is like understanding my let's say morals or boundaries. And sometimes my boundaries are really to be boundless in that way, that they expand and contract, and being comfortable with that. But to your point of like, how do you finding those types of people, like I think
I mean, I'm really curious, like where it comes from us, like this idea of community, of tribes, of groups. Obviously, it dates back to like the existence or the origin of man. I'm guessing like in tribes, I think probably people came together and formed together for survival. Like that was the only way you were going to make it through winter, through these different
sure.
things. And we became so dependent. But I'm sure there was kind of also these kind of queer thinkers of, well, I don't want to subscribe to this group. Like I want to go live on my own. And, they might have been wearing loincloths or naked. And so that, you know what I mean? Like
I love that you
whatever
describe them
thousand.
as queer thinkers because in that definition,
Yeah.
I'm also a queer thinker, dude.
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
Hundo P.
Queer is a deviation from normality.
Hmm.
Or common normality. And so I'm just curious, like, I'm sure there was kind of these abstract, obscure thinkers back then too, and how would they survive? Because now it's much easier to kind of be off on your own. You can order Uber Eats, you can't just go kill a deer on your own back then. So I think, this idea of group and codependency dates back to like the origin of the mankind. And I think it's just evolved more and more and more, this dependency on other people to think, for tribe leaders, presidents, whatever, to think for us, or religious leaders to give us the answers about where we're going, rather than like, us really looking at what we're doing here. We don't know what's going on. We don't know why we're here. It's kind of like super dramatic if you think about it. It's really epic, like this experience that we're having, life, like, and that reality is like intense. So of course people want to find a tribe, find where they fit, subscribe to this, because it eases some of that drama, it eases some of that heavy burden that is, there is no reason to anything, so therefore why do it? And for me, the reason why I do anything pottery, volleyball, fashion, design, da da da, is because I enjoy it, and it's a way for me to give back, and it's a way for me to connect. And whether or not it's going to help me with God after I die, or it's just going to put me straight into the ground and I'm never going to exist spiritually again, it doesn't matter. It matters that I feel good doing it that in the moment, because this is what I know I have, and that's the reality.
I mean, dude, that's a really beautiful way of putting it. Um, and obviously, I totally agree. This is why you and I became such close friends so early. Is it's like
Mm,
we were having these types of conversations, like kind of when we first met, like about real things in real life, and being like, "Isn't it fucking crazy? We're like on this rock spinning in space. We're just a bunch of dumb monkeys like trying to figure shit out."
mm,
Um, and I love this. You know, it's hard when you talk about like community and like why do we feel this sense of like needing community. It is a weird, like a strange thing that, especially as I've gotten older, feeling like, oh, I see the value in having some type of community, and
yeah,
like for you and also for myself, but to keep this on you, like volleyball community wasn't like, especially as you got older, wasn't like, this is my community, and in fact, maybe you felt like, oh, this is not my community, but it's so this dichotomy of like, I love this sport, but like, I don't feel like this is my community. Um, this is like now we're stepping forward a little bit, but like, thus led you now creating the B community,
yeah,
I would love for you to kind of like talk about like the communities now that you're creating, because I think it's so beautiful as someone who's not like, oh yeah, I was just born into this community, this is what I'll do. It's like now you're starting to like build those communities, because we all recognize there's huge power in community, there is
huge,
this
yeah,
it's like undescribable feeling of like, when you're with people you connect. I mean, I feel it, dude, every time I fucking have a conversation with you, I get like mildly emotional, because like I just feel this even now. God damn it, dude, I shouldn't have said that, dude. But even now, like, just love you so much. And like that sense of communion that we even have together, it's like, oh, I see so much value in that. Like, it makes me want more of that, like it makes me really not like want to like weed out all the bullshit and really find those people who I can stay true to, and put my energy into building those relationships. And now I think it's so beautiful that as someone who's now put volleyball off to the side, you're starting to create those communities to allow other people to join what you're doing. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about, starting with B, like how that came about and like what you're building.
yeah. I will say this: I haven't left volleyball entirely behind. Like, I've also realized that I don't need to abandon fully things that you outgrow, in a sense, or things that don't serve you in the same way. And I thought I had to for a really long time. Like, I was really scared to like go back into volleyball because I thought I might resent it. But yesterday was a clear sign that I can still exist in that world a bit, and I can still give energy a bit, but I don't need to be doing the exact same thing. So I think that's important, because volleyball is a huge love of mine. So there's something to be said about not abandoning things that you loved at one point fully, because they did serve you and there is energy still there. But anyway, that being said, I have moved into another direction, and I'm really feeling empowered at the moment, because I'm kind of entangled in different areas that all serve kind of everything I want to be. So I started B assembly. I started B. It's called B. Um, 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, as during the beginning of the pandemic. That was just a pottery charity where me and a couple friends at the initial start were making pottery, selling it for people in medical needs around the world, especially specifically in third world countries. Um, and then it grew, and then I made it into like a bigger pottery charity, and then I wanted to turn it into like a pottery agency. And it never really hit for me. Like, I just kept working on it, and I was like, I'm gonna launch now, I'm gonna launch now. And it wasn't really working, and it didn't feel right. And now I realize why, in retrospect. And I think like I'm just someone that I can't be stuck doing one thing. And I think that's why I struggled with volleyball so much. is like, even as much as I love pottery, it's the same with volleyball. It's just it's different, you know. It's not serving all my whole faculty. It's not serving all of me. And so I decided to open it up, and I turned BSM, now what is called B Assembly, into a multi-functioning design agency where we do interior design from hotels to rooms in a home to restaurants to whatever hospitality spaces, and we do architecture and we do furniture design. So now we're building wooden furniture and custom pieces and antiques, and we'll make pottery. So it's this world around space. And then on the other side, I have personally now with some developers a clothing company that's coming in December finally. And so it's like I really am so fortunate at the moment that I have the possibility, opportunity, to dive into different interests of my life, and have a multifaceted life, because that is what I want to be. But I will say that there is something about our day and age where we believe that everything is accessible to us, that we can do everything, that we can be anything, that I can go on Instagram and I can see someone, for example, doing pottery, go do a pottery class, and I'm a potter, or I take a photography class and now I'm a photographer. And it kind of dilutes a little bit the craft. And why I'm saying this is like, just because I'm doing these things now is not because I just decided to quit volleyball and I'm whatever. It's because I spent a lot of my youth studying, for example, pottery. I went to design school for university. I've invested a lot of time doing these things. And that's why I think they're successful at the moment and going in a good direction, is because and they feel real, is because it's not a trend. It's something that, like, I've put a lot of heart and love into, and I really think we need more of that in our day and age. Like, we live in such a culture where everyone can do everything, which is awesome, but it's like, and we're afraid to say if someone's not talented at something, then we're like putting them down, or like, whatever. Everyone could be professional dancers, da da da. But it's okay, and it dilutes craft, I think, a little bit. I don't know if I'm going way off topic, but it
There's no
just
topic, baby. Run.
okay. Yeah. So I just think it doesn't make us ignorant as people if we are unaccepting of people, if we not judge, but like, don't let someone into something, or da da da. It's not like we need to make everything accessible to everyone. We still also need to encourage, you know education and craft, and in techniques and these things, or we just all become kind of mediocre instead of like really refined. There's a reason why, like, and you go into villages in some countries, and like the food is tasting amazing. You're in the middle of the jungle and someone is making, like, I don't know, um pupusas or something,
A leek and
and it
potato
just
salad.
a leek of potato soup or salad,
Soup.
and sorry, a soup, and it just tastes different. It's because, like, that craft has been, like, mastered for 100 years, and it's passed on, and it's developed, and it's like, if we just all start being able to do everything but not really refine it, then it's like we're having kind of a mediocre experience as humans, and that's why we're all stressed because we all think we need to do everything, accomplish everything, and not really invest into ourselves, invest into talents, like real talents that you can have, instead of trying to be everywhere, do everything, but just like find your things, focus on those, and perfect them, I guess.
Man,
I don't know. Did I go off topic?
no, listen to me, baby. Just knock it off with this topic. We are not, class is not in session. Okay. It's actually interesting. Like, I think I'm a great example of what you just talked about. It's like, I'll never forget, run it back to 2017 when we lived together,
Mm,
like when we were going hot and heavy. Um, and, I had a friend, like, I was always someone who I was a sports kid, you know? I always
Yeah.
thought different, and I was like very probably hard to coach in the sense that like I needed explanation. I wasn't just going to do what I was told. I was like that since I was a child. I was always built a little different in that way, but I was someone who did invest so much in sports, but I also loved other things. But to your point, not the kind of love where like after school I can't wait to go like build bowls out of dirt. Like it started from something that was so organic. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget, like in 2017, you were really into photography. And
Ah,
let's go
yes.
there. Like, and you were shooting weddings and elopements and things you just really loved. Okay.
Yeah.
Shooting love. And I remember being like, oh, well, Ben's doing this. Like, I should learn it. I should learn from someone who's really good at what he does, and also like it's a chance for us to hang and do stuff. And like, oh, I can be a photographer too. So I would come shoot. I would not come shoot. I did a couple of like second shooting, let's call it. You were just nice enough to let me like tag on and like hang out. And I remember shooting and doing stuff, and even when it came to I was trying to learn, and so like shoot some stuff, and then after I'd be like, oh, well, what are you like, how are you editing the photos, and
Oh yeah.
it was so interesting because in my eyes I was like, Ben, just give me the fucking filter, let me slap it on and be like, check my shit out, and even from that point you were very like, Tay, you gotta kind of figure it out, and I remember being frustrated, like, bro, just like you already did all the work, like just help me out here, like what kind of presets, or like how are you doing this, and like sometimes you definitely like would let me watch like kind of how you're editing stuff, and I would always try to kind of take note on like how are you like changing the tones and contrast and like different things in the editing process. And I know your editing definitely changed a lot from back then to now. But like it just, that's what I thought of as someone who was like me, who I was like trying to find that medium, that thing outside of volleyball that gave me that same sense of like when I first started playing volleyball or sports for me as a kid, where I'm like, oh, I'm good at this. I love it. It's fun. It's how I want to spend my time, and that for you, like you had dance, you had molding dog poop in front of your house. You had these like different avenues growing up, and granted that your own struggles carried you and you learned a lot on the way, and now you are the man you are today because of those things. And I
Mm.
look, the whole, oh God, I'm going in circles. The point I meant is like, I just, when you were saying some of that, I was like, oh dude, like that was me, like even
And it's been me too. I mean,
yeah.
it's okay to test. It's okay to test what feels, if something feels like it's us. I mean, it's not. It's I've tested a lot of other things in my life that I don't do now because they weren't
Can you
me.
give me an example?
Yeah, soccer. I mean, I played soccer as a youth, and like that was my first sport. Actually,
Hmm.
well, dance, I guess, but soccer.
That's basically what you
And
did on the soccer field, I can imagine, on the pitch. Yeah.
literally, I was probably like in the middle of the field at like 6 years old.
Dude, this is so side note. I remember like when my first year ever playing soccer, it was like a co-ed league or something. And there was this chick, and she was like notorious for like kind of going the wrong way sometimes, but the way she ran was like very like gallopy, and her legs like fully spread every time she was running. It was like
Oh
so
my God,
eloquent and
gorgeous.
beautiful. And that's the for some reason, right when you said you played soccer, it took me right back to that childhood memory of like, oh,
And I was that girl.
Ben.
Yeah.
No, you at
You're like, oh
six.
my God, we knew each other at 6 years old. Yeah, I mean, soccer is an example. I don't know, there's probably some other ones,
That's fine.
but skateboarding. Like,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, skateboarding.
Well, it's
And
also
then
really quickly, it's important, like to your point, it's important to try things, to be like, oh,
yeah,
my friend does this, I'm gonna try it, But
for
I think it's
sure.
it's also like very important to, especially as you get older, I think you just get better at taking note on like, does this really fulfill me? If
Yeah,
not, does it not fulfill me because it's too hard? Because that's the real thing, I think, with a lot of things. Maybe you do love photography, but like you hate editing, or you hate doing the process of whatever, and you just have to make it through that part that feels tough for you to
yeah.
really do what you love. There's a difference in knowing and feeling that, and just being like, I'm just doing this
This
for
is just
these.
painful. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Because like for example, like pottery was not easy to learn, but it didn't feel tough. Like
Right.
every aspect of it felt like enjoyment. Like maybe someone learning ceramics or photography for the first time, they're just like, this is just so complicated, all the buttons. It's like when something sings with you, it's like it just becomes like full consumption
Do you think
because
it's
it's
harder? That's harder to do as you get older.
yeah, for sure.
I mean,
It's
yeah.
yeah, 100%. Obviously, I think that's quite obvious. I'm always, you
My
know,
bad.
pretty.
God.
What'd you say?
My bad,
My bad.
Ben.
It's
Yeah, I think
it's
everyone
obvious.
knows that. Okay.
Yeah, you can just put that away. You can cut that out of this podcast, babe.
I'm just kidding.
No, I think so. Like it just because of sadly the realistic point of time, and as an adult, you have to live your life. You have to like I don't know, make money and have a job. So you just don't really have like parents or other places that can take care of you while you explore shit. You kind of have to have some things figured out so you can sustain yourself so you don't
But
have
dude,
so much flexibility.
this is such a strange dichotomy, right? Because
Yeah.
on one hand, like when I hear you say that, I think about the reality of like, yeah, sometimes like everyone's in such different situations, and some people like don't have the luxury of just taking the time to figure out what they really love. And
Absolutely.
on the other hand, it's like I think there are also a lot of people who don't do it because they don't want to put in the time it takes to figure those things out.
Mm.
And I also think like I think what you just said, kind of knowing that like, well, if you didn't like grow up loving it and whatever, and now you're 30, now you're 35, now you're 40, like it's kind of too late. You might as well just do what you know already and love. And I think in some way that also inhibits people. And
For
I'm
sure.
projecting a little bit, because like for me, for example, like I still don't know exactly what direction I'm going to go when I decide to stop playing volleyball,
Yeah.
but I'm trying my best to be like, let's not limit ourselves. Like, let's not be afraid to start. I mean, I've been like, trying to learn an instrument more or less like on and off forever and never really gave it a real shot because like my brother's a songwriter, my dad's a musician. I'm like, they got that covered. I was the sports kid. But like, I
Yeah.
love playing the piano. I just fucking love it. I love playing the piano and singing really shittily. I have a bad voice, but like I want to learn to play the piano. And to that point, it's like
Oh my god, cute.
like those are things I think I'm like, should I really be doing this? Like, should I be spending my time now, my free time, playing an instrument that like I'm not gonna be, freaking Mozart or like whatever. Like, what am I really gonna do with this? And I think
Yeah.
it's so easy to fall down that path of like, well, it's too late. I'm, 10 years into this company now. Like, even though I don't really love it, it's like, well, I have nothing to fall back on because I put all my eggs in this basket. And I think that's been stressful for me in my life. Like, what would you advise someone like me? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. This is now the part of the show where Ben just gives me personal advice.
I become your therapist. Welcome to therapy with Ben.
Oh my
Oof.
God. I love the sound of that.
Um oof.
No, but I think a lot of other players, specifically, this is, I think, for a lot of professional players, right? Not everyone, Ben, is cut from a very different cloth, and I think not a lot of professional players, as
Linen.
you know, as you know, like a lot of professional players, like what do they do with their free time? They play video games and they go to the bar after and have some drinks and scroll on Instagram or whatever. 8, 10 years of their
Which
life
is
goes
fine.
by, which is look, there's nothing wrong with it, okay?
There's
But
definitely nothing wrong with it.
but it can also be toxic, and the toxic part of it is that you never gave yourself a chance to explore other things that might set you up when you're done with volleyball, and then people go
Yeah.
through this like depressive state.
I really feel for them because it is really tough because you are so tired. Like I have to say, like now being another career, people just really do not understand how physically tired and like how hard it is to even want to be social after a volleyball day or a sports day, so I really feel for them. It's much easier and way more enticing to excuse me to just like go home at the end of your day and just want to like be on a couch, eat a bowl of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, which I'm gonna do right after this
Oh
phone call,
yes, daddy.
and watch them play video game and go to bed because you just want to check out instead of like jumping into like a social place where you would go, meet other people and like have to engage when you're just like dead. So I get it. But I will say for athletes specifically, it is super, super important that you find ways to have self-development, especially if you're in kind of these obscure sports where you're not making enough. You're working just as hard as the other sports, but it's just not funded the same as these major other sports. So you're going to have a job or a career after your professional sport career somehow, or income somehow. So it's really important for you to push even deeper and to develop even deeper into yourself, and so that when that time does arrive for you to enter your next step, you're like confident stepping there, and not staying in sports or staying in that world just because you're afraid of the next step. And I think that's more common than not.
Yeah, I mean, for so many obvious reasons, I completely agree. And to me, it kind of touches on the subject of like, and I know this is like, let's call it a trending topic, but just mental health in general. Um, and if you're comfortable with it, I want to reflect on a time I remember maybe a couple years ago. Um, you like us having conversations about how like, for example, I remember there was a period in time where you were mentally having a hard time with serving. I feel this is like mildly inappropriate for me to bring this up because this is your life. I should never be speaking on behalf of someone else. But if you're comfortable with me talking about it, I think it will be really helpful for other people.
Yeah.
And you're having a hard time with it. Can you like kind of walk me through what was going on mentally? That was like a very loose introduction to just a time that came that I reflected on, because it was actually ended up being really helpful for me in kind of learning to own myself and own the moment a little bit. But I think would be helpful for other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Wait 1 second. Let me get this water bottle filled. Wow, that's a great question.
Hey, just want
It's
to
a
be
really
clear.
good
I don't
question.
even know if that was a question. It was. It's more of a thought, dude. It's more just a thought that I had, and it reminded me. I wrote down like, okay, I'd spent, like I told you, I spent a couple minutes like kind of trying to thinking of some things, and for some reason that jumped out at me, and I was like, oh, I think people will be able to like really gain some insight from this
That's
experience and moment you had, because I did for sure. So,
mm, mhm, mm, mm, mm.
Ben, do you want to
Okay,
give
maybe
everyone a
go.
tour of your kitchen and just flip it around really quick? Your house, for those of you who get to watch the video, hopefully this will be on YouTube. Ben basically designed this apartment. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, the whole apartment. It's fucking beautiful. So happy I get to
Thanks.
stay there once. I love it. Look how beautiful that is.
I don't know how to show,
That's
but it's
fine.
just
This is a
just
shitty
like
Zoom. This
that.
is not doing the house justice, but it's so beautiful.
Thanks.
And a tall counter, baby, for big boys.
For big boys, it's very, 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 very tall. Okay, I'm coming back. Um, Serving. I mean, wait 1 second.
Look, I just said serving, but do you remember that time period? Like,
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like that time period never really ended for me. Serving was partially the reason why I left volleyball. Like, I just was so overwhelmed by that specific skill. I'm eating gummy bears.
dude, I feel you, first of all.
um, oh my god.
And
Um,
and yes, before we talk about that experience, make sure you get your comfort food.
I need. I'm like serving. I need a gummy bear. Shit. um, but there was definitely moments. I won't go too far back into volleyball, but I was so ignorant when I came to volleyball. And I got so good exponentially because I was so unaware of the world and sports and all these things. And so it's like everything just kind of felt like a joy and like, oh yeah, why not? And then you get an ego and you learn, and you become a little bit older of an adult, and you're like, you start caring about other people's opinions. And that is when like it became really tough to get better at volleyball, because your brain gets in the way of your progression and your emotions. um, and it's like that childlike innocence and ignorance that is so propelling of growth, because you're just so in your brain and in your enjoyment of what you're doing, rather than being aware of everything else that's happening around you. And I really struggled. I really struggled for a lot of years with anxiety, and I didn't know it was anxiety around serving specifically, because it was like it was the only thing in volleyball that was so isolating. It was like when you are by yourself back there, and that's what takes the most courage and takes the most focus in that whole sport is standing back there on that service line. And it was really tough for me because I really as that skill as a representation of myself in success. That if I was going to be good or if it's not good, it was all around. I could have played amazing, but if I served bad, I let everyone down still. And
Mm.
so it was like this for years. And then, I did therapy on it. I did all this stuff. And I mean, it didn't help that like in university, like I had, you know, some really traumatic experience around serving. And um, my freshman year, like, I was hazed by my coach around serving, like really intense experience. Um, he got in very big trouble, actually. I don't know if
What?
a lot of people know this. Yeah.
Wait, what the fuck are you talking about? Your coach hazed you.
So he said I had this like really gorgeous head of hair,
Believable.
and I was missing like 30% of my serves as a freshman. And I had like never heard of stats or anything like this shit. I was like, what the hell? And so I was like, starting now as a freshman, and he was like, if Ben, if Ben, he said this in front of the whole team, if Ben doesn't get less than he has 1 month to get his serving errors down like to 20 something percent. And if he doesn't do it, then we're going to shave his head. And I took it as a joke. Like everyone was like, oh, funny. I was like this young, like 18-year-old freshman, like, and okay, I was like, okay. But then I started trying really, really hard, training every single day with the coach. Um, and I really made an effort and a focus. And then I was like 1% over after like the 1 month mark. And I thought it was a joke, or he forgot about it or something. But one day at the end of practice, he was like, oh, we made a deal. And he brought out and like made everyone stand around me. And I was in the middle of this chair, and he shaved I had long hair, and shaved my whole head. And it was like I was
And
in
he did you
shock.
the biggest favor of all time.
Yeah, because that hair was gross.
I'm just kidding.
It was
That's
nasty.
fucking insane, bro. That's like
I
actually
know.
unbelievable.
I know. I did. Now looking at it, I was like, I was so unaware. I was like, holy shit, this is so traumatic. This
And
is
you just
crazy.
you just let him do it. You weren't like, no, bro, you're not fucking touching my head.
Dude, I was like 18. I had no idea what was going on. But I just remember like the
Whoa.
look on my teammates' face that everyone was like the coach was laughing, but no one else was laughing. And everyone was like, wait, this was real. Like, this is so weird. So, that like really started triggering me around like um having intense experiences around serving specifically. And like this idea of consequence of failure and this kind of stuff. So I really, really struggled. I really, really struggled with it for years. But um, it became much better once I don't know, did a lot of mental work, a lot of meditation when it felt right, a lot of training my brain to like get over that mm, judgment around that skill. And but in the end, my last season also, I struggled serving again, and I just kept getting in. It kept getting in the way, and it kept coming back, and it was just kind of my my burden to carry throughout my career, and that's okay. Everyone has their thing, but serving was definitely mine.
I mean, did you find any? I mean, you mentioned like, oh, I did therapy, I did meditation. Like, I'll say I just started like try again doing weekly therapy, and
Mhm.
I find it to be really useful for me, especially as someone who like processes out loud. And it's so funny that I mentioned that you like tell that story about serving and how it like affected you, and Because I've gone through it like with the national team, with like even this last like couple years, and now I've changed my serve up a little bit, feel more comfortable with it, but still it's like I can't. Dude, you brought up a great point. Like when I was a kid, like I didn't give a fuck, dude. Like I was ripping,
Yeah,
like I just didn't
yeah,
care. And even in
yeah.
college, like for me, my personal experience, even in college, like I just didn't care that much. And then as there gets to be more pressure, and especially for someone like me, an undersized middle who's like, if I want to get good contracts and play on good teams, I need to have a dangerous serve. I got to be touching a lot of balls, blocking balls, and attacking at a really high rate. And so now even like trying to climb and like make the Olympics and do these like little 1% differences, like serving, I have way more pressure in my mind on serving. And even just today, a great example, like I remember we were doing a drill and I eventually just served like 6 balls and I missed the first one. And every time I went back to serve, I was like, oh shit, like as much as I want to be like just tactical and have my rhythm and routine and just be like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna hit this guy, I'm gonna hit this spot and just go for it. And like I kind of have like in games, I have my kind of cues, and then the second I miss a serve, that that mental attitude like completely shifts. And all the
Hmm.
it's like this idea of like I always feel like giving advice is so easy and following your own advice is like
For
the most
sure.
difficult thing. Like how ironic, where it's like
Yeah.
I could coach someone through like the serving mental process and hype them up and be like, dude, who fucking cares? Like, judge yourself based on what was your intention. Was your intention not to miss? Was your intention? And that's how I teach it now. Like, the kids that I do one-on-one mentorship with, like even some of my clients now, it's like we talk about those things, and I'm like, I catch myself all the time being like, oh yeah, don't forget to like also do that, Taylor. Like
Yeah.
I'll give them advice and then listen to it and be like, oh yeah, don't
I
forget that
do
that
that
still
too.
fucking applies to me, 30-year-old, tenured like professional volleyball player. Like to your
Yeah.
point, it never leaves. And in fact, it like becomes so much more difficult when you get so much more pressure,
Yeah.
And
I
so
mean, absolutely.
yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, I just wanted to mention that because I just think it's like just so people know, like you said, to the end of your career it followed you, and like I have it now. I had it today. I just got off of training like 2 hours ago before this conversation. Like
Yeah.
it just
It just
never
doesn't end.
leaves. Yeah.
It doesn't leave, and that's okay. And again, it's not like everything has to be perfect or smooth in our field of work. There's things about artists, for example, that they can just not get that right look of what they want, but a lot of their other stuff is they're just really proficient in, and that's okay too. It's okay not to be expert on in everything within one craft, you know, and that's just not realistic. And I think moments when I was serving well, it was moments where I was just okay. That serving was just okay. Like it wasn't spectacular. I wasn't scoring amazing. Like my best serving season, I think was not. It was the season before last, and it was like my most chill season where I just like kind of not that I didn't give a fuck, but I was just kind of enjoying, and I wasn't trying to be spectacular. I wasn't trying to be like the best in every single skill. Instead of just like enjoying what I'm trying to enjoy what I'm doing. And I served great. Like I served really good. I had like the second highest aces on my team through that whole season, which is like so never been my identity at all. And I remember at the end when they announced that I was like, who? But like it's just little wins, and these things come and go, and it's totally normal for athletes if they're wondering if like you're struggling with serving, for example, or spiking or high ball setting by yourself or passing free balls. There's just skills that sometimes our bodies just don't connect with, but in other places they do. And it's not about comparing yourself to someone else, but just like just enjoy and know that it's kind of all random, and everyone has their thing. So
I mean,
yeah.
you said you did like some therapy, some meditation. I'm guessing some of those tools were useful. Did you ever come to a point with yourself where you were like, oh, this is my balance? And obviously like acceptance is big, right? If you feel angry, like accept that you're angry. Be okay that you're upset by something. Allow
For
yourself
sure.
to feel that for sure. And then it's
Yeah.
also useful to have tools. One of those tools we already kind of discussed is like having balance in your life. So you're not
Yes.
just a volleyball player. It's not the only thing in your life that matters. We know that.
Yeah.
Were there any other tools or things for you that you were like, oh, this is really useful, and maybe things that now carried into your, or let's just keep
Uh,
it volleyball, like things that were, for you, like, oh, this
yeah.
was actually really useful.
I think honesty. No, not think. I know for sure. Honesty. Like I remember certain times in the last couple years, like I really learned to express my feelings to my teammates and even sometimes my coach. Like I remember last season, like I was just not good mentally. Like I was really not good. I was kind of overwhelmed with volleyball and the, playing and being at the certain level and kind of knowing that I was maybe thinking about taking a break from volleyball. And I was just like not good mentally. And I remember it was like one of the biggest games, like it was a Champions League quarterfinal. And I had been playing really good, but I was just not right. And I remember like sitting down with my coach before the game. I was like, hey, I have to talk to you. Like, and him and I didn't have a great relationship. But I just remember being honest, being like, listen, I'm not right, dude. Like, I'm just not right today. And I'm gonna try my best. But if I'm gonna give you a sign, and if I need to like come out for a rotation of serving, because there's no way I'm gonna be able to mentally stay in this whole game if I have to think about the whole time that my service coming up later. Like I just need mental breaks. And you know what? Like he was super receptive and like we've had a relationship up to that point for 4 years, so he kind of knew me. So it's just really important to be really honest. And I felt much like safer in that game. And I actually served that whole game and I did just fine. But just knowing that like you let out that anxiety, that you talk to your or teammates, for example, like during some games, like I would just be like hyper nervous and I couldn't chill. And it always took me like sometimes a second to get into it. I just like talk to my friend or a setter or one of the players, be like, also I'm just not right. Like I'm just like kind of fucked up today. Like I'm
Mhm.
just overwhelmed and stressed. And just being so real, let that emotion out, because if you don't let it out, then it just like keeps you in and you can't create a vibe and you can't create like a dance together. So I that's why our team was like so successful like the last years in Berlin. Like we were in the quarterfinals of Champions League, which we're not the most decorated team. We had a very amazing players, but we had just a vibe together. And that is like because of the honesty that we had in our team. And like we were really, really cool with each other on the court too. Like we talked about vulnerable stuff. Like we held hands, we cried together, and like that really brought us somewhere, brought me somewhere. So I think yeah, it's like really important to let out that energy, to be honest, whilst doing it too.
I mean, I think I could not agree with you more. Obviously, I think we're both very similar and are, at least for myself, I definitely feel that. I'm also a proponent for being super honest, and it's,
Mm,
I think, you know, in my experience, every team I've ever been on, I end up being the guy who communicates to the coach about how players really feel. Because I don't
yeah,
know what it is. We come from this mentality of just like every day's a grind, and like even if you're tired, you gotta keep going, and like not expressing how you really feel. And granted, there's something to being like mentally strong in that way. And there are times where you're gonna be tired and things are great, and you do have to find ways to overcome them. But
yeah,
I totally abide by this thought process of like the first step to that is being honest with yourself and honest with those around you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like when you said that,
yeah,
I was like, wow, Ben, like what a bold move to just like be like, to go to your coach before a game and be like, just so you know, like this is how I feel today, And like, I think that's just, I was like, damn, that's such a beautiful thing to do. And I think that, a lot of it's on coaches and their environment, and hopefully that culture is changing a little bit, and that
yeah.
coaches create an environment that allows their players to be who they are and express how they feel. But
And
I'll
I'm
tell you,
not saying that coach is that person, because there's definitely been moments where, people play like this quintessential like hockey, whatever that miracle hockey movie, and they literally
oh,
play
you're
that
talking
like,
about MVP, most valuable primate.
yes, and like played that in the locker room. Like you just kind of do it and you just go there and you fight forward. Like I've had coaches like that before. I'm not saying it's all rainbows and butterflies, but if you demand like you be heard and you demand space for yourself, then that's more important. Coaches aren't God, you know, they're not gods. They're human beings in a job position. And you're allowed to speak up for yourself. You're allowed to like have feelings. You're allowed to have off days. You know, you're allowed to be an athlete that's getting paid and has a job, but say like, I'm not mentally okay today. Like you have every right to do that. And we have every right to protect ourselves as human beings, and especially in such a intense job like professional athletics. So, you know, I'm not saying he was maybe the most receptive or that he agreed, but it was important that I said it. And he probably comes from a different perspective of you just push through and you fight and da 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 da. But that's not me, and I don't have his perspective. So why do I should be able to share mine is my point of view. So yeah, it really helped, and you know, players, for example, you know, use discretion when you do these things. But I do think it is important to also maybe give, you know, people in power opportunity to surprise you, to see if they would be somewhat understanding or receptive to what you're saying, because that's also where growth and commonality happens. So yeah.
Man, I'm I love all of that, you know.
Mm.
Really. Dude, because and I don't want to get riled up, dude. I really don't want to get riled up, but I just like this is why I love you, dude. Like be you, you know? Like whoever you are, like just fucking be you. Like I don't get and I experience this personally more I'd say more so in the professional world where it's just like players bitching about this and this coach sucks and this sucks and this it's like so much bitchiness and no one's doing anything about it. And meanwhile it's like and then we all have our hey ciao what up hi like we're having all these surface level conversations. No one I don't really know who these like you know like no one's really expressing like how they really feel and like it's okay to be like tired and it's okay to express that, you know, and it's okay to help someone work through that, you know.
Yes.
And I this just made me feel like I feel so grateful for the coach I have now, Javier Weber, who's like such an amazing he's to me he's given me life to even continue playing because I've reached similar feelings with volleyball where I'm like, man, it's just some days I feel like it some days it's like, you know, after a game or a match, especially if you play well, it's like, oh my God, dude, I'm meant for
Oh my
this.
God. Yeah, exactly.
In love.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely never thought that of myself as a volleyball player, but like I
Oh,
love this, dude. Like this still brings me joy. And that's how I view success in life is like how much of my time do I feel really fulfilled in what I'm doing? Now, again,
yes.
we already went over it can be difficult and hard. It doesn't matter, but like, do I feel really fulfilled, you know? And a shitty coach and a garbage practice environment can just strip that all away, you know?
Yeah.
And so it makes me feel so grateful to have now like a coach where he knows we had a weight session in the morning. He can tell from the beginning of training that guys are tired. And he's like, how you guys feeling? He comes up to everyone and he asks, like, how you feeling? How you doing? Like, honestly. And you give a response. He's like, hey, you guys are tired today. Here's what I want. 45 minutes. We're only going 45 minutes. I want it to be intense. I want everyone focused, but just give me 45 minutes. Like I've never had a coach, dude, he would cut practice. I've had him this last year and again this year in Olsztyn, Poland. And like he'll cut practice if it's like guys are tired. Most coaches just like trying to drill it into you, like, you know, like,
Yes.
and that's what
And
causes injury. And this is
there's
a whole nother rabbit hole, but
I know. I mean, there are times when to push and to be resilient
agreed.
and to be strong for the sake of strength, not for the sake of masculinity, because that is something else. But there are also times to, for example, hypothetically, also just cut it and cut practice and you know, and that's up to the discretion of people in power and maybe also ourselves to like speak up. But you know, I do think it is a balance, and more often than not, I think coaches also are just so subscribed to like their forefathers, for example, of like how they did things or how they thought you had to be successful, or these Hollywood movies, you know. It's just not reality.
They
You're
just go like this,
dealing
they dust off the scroll.
literally, and they're like, okay, what do I do in this situation? And that's what, you know, that's what I was getting at from the beginning, is like also coaches too, get with the program. Like have some type of personality, have some type of honesty, some ingenuity, like learn we don't live in that world anymore. Like an athlete lives in this modern world, and so you cannot connect to players expecting, to do the same things as someone in the 1990s, like gold glory for gold Hollywood movie, blah blah blah. I don't even know what it's called, or
Airbud.
Mighty Ducks, or Airbud Space Jam. Like it's just like you guys, they really need to get with the program. I'm not saying you need to become some hippie da 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 da, but you need to learn like that you cannot group us all or people all together as the same and get a successful result. It's just not going to happen anymore. Ain't gonna cut it.
And so
Ain't gonna cut it.
what can they do?
Actually develop, self-develop. And that's what coaches really need to also do. Like I've really had some experience of I just observe like my coaches, and I'm just like, oh man, it's so sad. It's so unfortunate that like you behave in this way because you do not know how to identify with yourself, and we're living in now of a time where, again, everything is about self-identification and self-identity and all this kind of stuff, which is wonderful. But they come from a totally different generation where it's not about independency or like, excuse me, self-identity. So I get it, and I like I said, I don't need a coach or a person or to be like this liberal hippie whatever, but they do need to have a sense of purpose in creating their own language and how they communicate. And even if I subscribe it to or not, at least I know it's genuine. When I know someone is just reacting from a script, then that's something that your intuition feels quite easily, and it just doesn't resonate the same.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just think coaches also need to like either just choose to show their personality, or if they don't have it, then learn how to get one. And I think when you describe like your coach, he just sounds like someone that has character traits of someone that like chooses to kind of be themselves. And yeah, I think that's way more impressive, and in the long run, way more successful. The impact is way more successful. I will spend the rest of my years trying to forget the coaches that were these fake kind of people, because it left such a nasty taste in my mouth at some point, rather than you might enjoy reflecting on this coach that made you feel good and you enjoy talking about. So
Hmm.
it's a different impact, and um it's a different responsibility, I think, to have as a coach,
Okay,
to
I know you said there I will spend my years forgetting these coaches, but in all honesty, now that volleyball is like slowly becoming a part of your past, and it will always be a part of who you are for sure.
yeah.
Um, like since you stopped playing, like how much do you like on a daily basis even think about it, honestly?
Well, I mean, right now, quite a bit. I mean, the new
Yeah?
professional season is starting. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm here in Berlin, and I'm involved in quite a few things, and I'm, doing the charity project with the club in the city now. So I'm around. But again, like I was there last night, and I'm just kind of observing, and I see the difference of tone and vibe from what we had created in the last years, which is something very special. And it was nice. It was nice to feel missed. I could feel like I was really missed
Mm,
on that team, but I also just felt like such a confirmation of like it was really the right time, and
mm,
I outgrew myself within this specific sphere of work, and that was kind of a nice validating moment. So I did miss at some points, and I cried so much last night. I cried on
really?
stage. Yeah, I had to give a little bit of
Oh,
a speech, and
did
I
I give a
cried on stage,
speech?
and I did. And they played like this video of the past 4 years, the success of the team, and the moments, and like the crazy highs and lows, and you're just kind of like seeing this, I don't know, this this documentary of your life, and you're just like, and you can feel everyone in the room kind of like looking at you, because in a lot of the videos, and I
Mm,
was just like, feeling really nostalgic of the history, but not of necessarily the what I don't know what came with it, like the training schedule, the lack of diversity, the characters that you have to deal with that you just don't want to. Not that my new workplace is amazing. I'm obviously going to deal with people I'm not interested in, but at least
Sure.
now I have the choice a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that part is nice. But yeah, I miss jumping, to be honest.
Yeah, no shit, dude. Your genetics are clearly like fucking made to be jumping around all the time. So do you just
I
like spend like random minutes just kind of jump up and down, or like how do you fulfill that need?
I haven't. Yeah, I'm in the club just
Yeah, boy. Uh,
the bob. No, I haven't jumped in a while, and I should. Yeah, someone tagged me in a video like last week, and I was like, "Fuck, is that me?" I just kind of forgot, um, and because it just seems like such a different world to me now, which is so
sure.
weird. But I do miss that. I kind of miss running after a ball on that save or making this crazy defensive play, which rarely happens to me, but I just wanted to say it. Um, um, just like these certain things, but I don't miss these 9-hour bus travels. I don't miss
Mm,
listening to conversations that I don't feel uplifting or interesting. I don't,
mm.
you know, I just there's a lot of things that I don't miss going to the exact same gym every single day. Like I love that I can kind of work from wherever right now that I get to travel around. I have a new client or a new interest from someone else. And it's like way more stimulating for myself than it is knowing that I'm like having the copy paste same schedule every single day.
Yeah.
Because that just ain't me.
Yeah, I mean,
That's not me.
what are the biggest changes? Obviously, like now you have to create your own schedule, whereas before your
That
life
is
is
the
laid out
biggest
for you.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the biggest change. And before it was like I did have this rote schedule, and within this rote schedule, I was like always trying to fit in my other
Mm.
appointments throughout my day.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I was just always dead. I was always dead. I
yeah.
was running around like crazy. And so now it's like I just have my self-made appointments. I wake up at like 6:30 every morning, go to the gym at 7:30, work out for 2 hours, and then I start my day.
Clearly, you
You
look
know,
fantastic. Sorry.
thank you. Thank you. Aw. But yeah, so it's been really interesting to like have my own schedule and to only really depend on myself, to be really like kind to myself because some days when you're just not doing anything, you're like, I don't want to do shit today. Like today, for example, maybe in like even like a couple months ago, I would have been like super self-critical, like, what are you doing? Like, you're not going for your dream, but it's so important. It's like spending this amount of energy, getting going is just like it's a lot. And um yeah, I think it's okay like to take time for yourself and to create your own schedule now that I have it. So
Do you
that's been the
think
biggest change.
also we've been doing this for like a little over 2 hours. We're gonna wrap it up here in a second, but I'm really curious from you, like, did you feel like you were a dreamer, let's say, as a kid? Like I've talked, yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah,
you think so?
for sure. 100%.
And I
Yeah.
hate using the like term of like manifest. Like, did you manifest these things into your life? But I've always thought of you as someone
Yes.
who thinks about these things and like feels and embodies these emotions of what it's going to be like to get there, and then takes action upon it. Like, what is that like for you? What value has that brought you?
Yeah, I think, I really do believe in manifesting in the sense of putting out there how you genuinely feel. And like something I do some nights, like, I really do ask like energy around me or whatever to like help me do something or to accomplish something. And I say thank you. Like I really do. I just sometimes really feel I'm not sure if I believe in God. I don't know if I'm getting too spiritual, but I do believe in God. And I believe in connecting. I feel very connected to earth and to like what's around me and these kinds of things. And sometimes I'll just like, I'll ask, like even when I was younger, I would just be like, please, like, make me at least 6'3", because I remember looking at the roster for the US team, and Reed Pretty was it's like when I first started playing volleyball, and he was playing at Pepperdine or something, or played at Pepperdine, and I saw that he was like 6'3", and I was like, oh my God. if I just get to 6'3", I could maybe play in college.
Mm.
And then, I end up being 6'8", which I have no business being because it just is like not really in my family at all. I'm not saying that's what happened, but
No,
there
this is good to note for everyone out there. If you
just
think about it hard
want to
enough,
be
you can actually grow.
yeah, for
Yeah, no one talks about
sure.
that.
No one talks about that, but they should.
They should.
Um, no, but I do really believe that there is just like, and I always like my dream, I say first, and I don't worry about the details. Like I'm just like, it's gonna like you figure it out as you go. But like, for example, it's like I want to be a CEO of my company. I want to make this company, and I right off the bat want it to be this big. And now it's like that is my goal, and I'm not trying to be like a small little T right at the beginning and slowly grow. I'm like I want to be there, and we'll worry about how the details, how to get there as we go. That makes sense.
I mean, you make me want to dream. You make me want to dream more, baby. No, for sure. I mean, damn, it's just that's so powerful, And I think for myself, like, I was never someone who like dreamed of having a family one day or getting married one day, and I never really dreamed of like being a professional volleyball player, especially when I even just first started. It was just like I
For
fucking love
sure.
this, dude. Like I
Yeah.
was, and this is again, this is such a luxury. Like to me, it was just like, oh boy, all I want to do is do things that I love doing, and that's straight up what I did and what I've done for most of my life.
Yeah.
Um, and now I'm at a stage where because I wasn't like that, I never have really been just like I'm gonna get there. I want to be there one day. I'm gonna get there. Like I definitely have goals, especially now, and have had goals of things I want to do. I want to play Division One. I want to go professionally, like especially just in volleyball.
Mm.
Um, but now it's something that I find even more value in, because I've always taken this realistic expectation of just like why would I like dream about something? It's like if I put in the work to do those things and I love that thing, like, yeah, I'm going to get there. Yeah, I'm going to be fucking pro. That's the attitude
Yeah.
I've had. And now I look like I'm so grateful to have friends like you where I'm just like, nah, Taylor, like fucking dream, baby. Like, why the
Yeah.
fuck not? Like, why not set a goal and be like, this is what I want to do, dude? And I've found whether that's with like even like little things like, diet or something, just really being like, dude, I want to, and this happened. This was really easy for me when I got kicked off my second NCAA team, and I was like, now I got a fucking dream. It's called get back on the team, dude. And now I'll do literally everything. So it was like, yeah, I had this goal of like, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to do these things. And I was so motivated. And I look
Yes.
back onto that moment in my life and think about like how fulfilled I was in every way. I had this goal and I was just fucking going for it, and then you get to a point where it's like, oh, now I'm a professional. I've been doing this for so long. And like, now I'm like, I bring this up because now I'm in a dream state again of like, all right, I need to fucking dream again, dude. I need to surround myself with people who are doing great and big things. And that's why I've always felt like so lucky that to have you as such a close friend because you were always that person who was like unintentionally inspiring me to think bigger and go bigger and like, and I'm about to fucking cry, dude.
Aw.
I love you. For real though, I just think I feel grateful to have a friend like you and I hope other people, have or can put themselves in an environment and follow someone and be a part of someone's life who brings them that type of energy.
Keep it together.
Dream, baby.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, for real, dude, I just like, I'm just tooting your horn now, but I just like, just even as an adult, it's like such a great reminder of like, don't fucking stop dreaming, and that will look different, and it's okay not to know like, well, I'm down to dream, but like, what do I want to dream? I don't know. I don't have these like insanely big goals but they'll come, and to start with small ones and develop into bigger ones. And like, for some people like you, it's like, daddy's going to be a CEO or a COO or whatever, and like, you can manifest that by like taking the steps. And I just think it's like, this is going to be such a powerful message for people. It is for me, even in this moment right now, it's like such a great reminder again. And so just to kind of like pivot towards the end of here, like you're doing that, you want to be a CEO, you want to do things. We like briefly touched on some of the things you're doing, but like, what are you doing? You're doing you're starting a clothing line. It's also like interior design, it's ceramics. Like, can you fill people in on like the projects and things you got going?
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna say really quick.
No,
Okay,
no,
okay, okay,
no.
okay, okay, one, okay, okay. I'm just gonna answer your question. Okay, but you know I love you. Anyway,
Yeah, no, I was kidding. Go
what?
ahead.
Um, just so I'm doing basically two things at the moment, and that is uh building up my company, and I have now a team of four, including me, and we are a creative collective specializing in or focusing in on interior design, architecture, and then we have another sector or section of our company which is furniture design and development. So basically, like I said earlier, for example, like we have a client now that we will build all this custom furniture for their restaurant based upon our design. And so we'll fill the whole space with interiors, and then we also have built their own kind of one-off design furniture for them specifically. So that's that, and it's going really cool. It's going really good at the moment. Very, very thankful.
And just before you pivot, how can people follow or support kind of what you're doing in the direction you're going?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really launched it yet, but it will be launched within the next 2 weeks. So middle of October, we launch. It's called B Assembly, and the website is going to be launched probably next week. So people can go and start to catch a vibe and see everything before we launch the products and other things. And then looks like we're going to do an editorial for a magazine pretty soon that launches our furniture, which I can't say the magazine yet because it's
Sick though.
kind of,
That's cool.
yeah, very exciting. And then those products are going to be available on our site, and we'll be putting them in hotels and things like that pretty soon. And then another side of me is clothing. I love, like I said, I love personal style. So I actually developed last year um like a small clothing collection that I was gonna produce myself. Um and um yeah, I got introduced to some developers and they asked to be part of it, and so they produced the collection. And it's very simple, and the clothes are not this hyper stylish thing. They're just kind of straightforward silhouettes that I've found from my time living in different places around the world that I really like, and the textures and the stitching, and there's like really nice subtle details. And this is just going to be like a joy project for me. So every year I want to, aside from my own kind of made company and source of whatever, I want to develop like once a year a clothing collection in different seasons of the year, how I'm feeling. So as an offering, and not to make money, I just want to like, I just want to see people wearing things I like.
Yeah, and baby, also to make money, like all
Yeah,
of it, bro. Like I
for
hope
sure.
you do, like we
Yeah,
need we need the ones killing it to be the good ones. There's a lot of just like shitty people in powerful positions who are killing it, and it's a sad thing. And so I think of someone like you and I'm like, dude, I want to see you at the top, in that way. And
thanks,
because it is
thanks.
it comes from such a beautiful place, and I got one word, it's actually maybe two words. It's cotton gauze.
Cotton
Cotton
God,
gauze, dude. I'm gonna be honest with you
you
guys. I
love.
got a little, I don't know if this is gonna be the same collection or not, but I got a little sneak peek at some of the stuff you were doing. And I'll just say I fucking loved that shirt, and those pants were sick. So I cannot fucking wait for that stuff to come out.
Thank you. Yeah, it's gonna be available soon. We're gonna be doing an event in New York City. So if anyone's in New York in December or November, I'm not sure when it's happening yet. We can come hang out, but we'll do some events here in Europe. And yeah, it's gonna be available soon.
Yeah, you excited?
I am. I'm really curious. It's not a big inventory, so I'm really curious if it will sell out. I think it will do pretty well. Let's say I hope so.
And what's the
And
brand like? Or I don't know what I'm like kind of tiptoeing because I don't know what you're like allowed to talk
yeah,
about or what you want to talk
yeah,
about.
it's called Pergamon. It sounds kind of like Pokemon, but there it is. But it's an ancient African city um, where like a lot of craft was developed, where parchment paper has come from. So it was like this epicenter of craft and kind of like our textural development of a lot of things we use now. So I wanted to reference that, especially since the clothes are very reminiscent of pottery shapes I do, of textures I really like in different aspects of my life and furniture, da da da. So yeah, you kind of see a representation of not just clothing, but just shape that is familiar to you in other senses and not just, I don't know, on a t-shirt. So it's definitely stylized, it's earthy, and it's small from the beginning, and we'll just see where it goes.
Um, does it have people like your size in mind?
Yeah, so that's one of my biggest things is like I've hated the discrimination of tall people from like having good style. It's so hard to like to go into a store and find pants that like fit a tall person, or like a jacket where the arm sleeves are just like
Oh, you've
long
never been
enough.
to that store? What's it called? Big and
Big
Tall?
and tall. Yeah, I fortunately have never been
Actually, me
there.
neither. I saw it near the mall though. It does exist. I know
Really.
that.
um,
Yeah, so what's
except
the
that
sizing like? Like how do you like obviously it's not it's, just to be clear, it's not like a tall person's clothing line, is it? Or it's just
no, I mean, but the thing is I wanted it to be attainable. So the silhouettes are all made to be oversized. So like someone that is has a complementary height, I'll call them, very small. It can fit, and the silhouettes work for you. And then there'll also be a sizes where um like you can still be oversized and be tall. So I want everything to feel heavy and draped and like kind
yes.
of this thing. But also, if you're smaller, that you also don't feel like you're swamping. So the smallest sizes would still be oversized, but not dying. And then for big people, you can still have a bit of shape, but also be oversized too. Because it's a balance. Because you don't want to just wear like big nasty clothes that don't fit your body. Like you need like a balance, you know. So it's not like just big to be big. It's big because it makes sense in some areas.
Dude,
That makes sense.
oversized oversized is in, baby. I'm on team oversized. I'll be honest with you. I was
It's
not
just cozy.
it's so fucking cozy, dude. And I was
I
not team
know.
oversized for a while because, dude, I have like a big hat size, but I feel like I have a tiny head for my shoulders or something. Like I feel like I have a tiny head. And so when I
Me
wear big
too.
clothing, it just like exploits this like, little water droplet that sits on like a pool, like a bowl, like a dog bowl. I look like a fucking idiot. Now I'm
You should
about
try
it.
having an egg. I have like this egg head that's tiny. I feel like I have a tiny egg head.
Dude, not at all. You have a beautiful hard boiled piece on your head,
Egg.
I love it.
Thank
I love
you.
it, dude. This was amazing. Yeah, I'm so happy. Anything else that you wanted to like plug? I'm sure people know. What's your Instagram? Where can people follow you? I think it's important to support what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
the assembly. We got
Benjamin
Pergamon.
Patch is Benjamin Patch is just my Instagram. The clothes are going to be available there, and
Cool.
then B Assembly is our design agency that is launching soon. Go check me, the half naked pics out.
Yes, please, dude. I love you so much. This was amazing. Thank you so much for hopping on and chatting with Daddy a little bit.
Thanks for
Get
having
me all
me.
riled up. Thanks for making me cry, dude.
Anytime, obviously.
All right, baby. Thank you. Peace.